Think like this and the world will bow to you. This phrase carries an almost enigmatic power, capable of arousing an immediate curiosity. Can the world, with all its complexity, really respond to our ways of thinking? The truth is that throughout history, men and women who have achieved great feats did not begin with unlimited resources, but with a prepared mind, a clear vision, and an unshakable belief that what they desired was possible. Napoleon Hill, while studying for decades the greatest entrepreneurs, leaders, and inventors of his time, discovered a pattern that crosses generations. Everything starts in the mind. No matter where you are now or what difficulties you face, your way of thinking can open doors that don't yet exist, attract people you didn't even imagine you met, and create opportunities that seem unlikely. When we look at our everyday lives, we realize that there are people who seem to walk with a kind of magnetism. They are not only lucky, they carry an energy, a clarity, an inner firmness that makes favorable circumstances align on their path. It is as if, by thinking in a specific way, they create an invisible force that organizes the world around them. Have you ever met someone like this? A person who, without flaunting, conveys confidence, attracts respect, and conquers spaces? This is the practical reflection of what Napoleon Hill called the power of thought. Thinking is much more than an automatic act of the brain. To think, in fact, is to direct the mind with intention. It's choosing which images you allow to live inside yourself. It's deciding which words you repeat every day when you wake up. It's observing what stories you tell yourself when something goes wrong. Because every repeated thought, every sustained emotion, silently shapes your destiny. It's not magic. It's focus. It's consistency. It is the invisible energy that you feed and that starts to reflect in your gestures, in your choices, and even in the way others perceive you. Imagine two people in identical situations. Both face a serious financial problem. The first one constantly thinks about how difficult everything is, how unfair life is, and how nothing goes right for her. This energy paralyzes you, your actions become small, your vision limited, and even the people around you move away because no one likes to be around those who radiate only discouragement. The second person, faced with the same problem, thinks, "This is just a temporary challenge. I'm going to find a way out. I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to discover a path that I haven't seen yet." This attitude changes your posture, your voice, your look. This energy attracts employees, ideas, small opportunities that, added together, change your destiny. The problem is the same, but the result is completely different because the way of thinking was different. Napoleon Hill said that the human mind, when aligned with a clear goal, is comparable to a magnet. It attracts that which is similar to what it holds within itself. And here is a crucial detail. The world does not bow to those who wait seated. The world bows to those who think firmly, believe intensely, and act according to their vision. To think right is to plant a seed. To believe is to water this seed. To act is to take care of it day after day until the tree blooms. Many people give up because they want immediate results, but every tree takes time to grow. The mind, however, already begins to shape reality the moment you decide that you will no longer accept thoughts of defeat as masters of your life. The most fascinating thing is that this power is not reserved for geniuses or millionaires. It is within each of us, waiting to be awakened. Think about how many times you yourself have changed the course of a day just by the way you woke up. There are days when you open your eyes already with a weight, already expecting problems, and everything seems to go wrong. But there are also days when you wake up lightly, believing that it will be a good day, and even the obstacles become smaller. This shows that the inner state precedes the outer experience. The way you think is the lens that colors the world. Now, you may wonder, how do I think in a way that really bends reality in my favor? The first step is clarity. Without clarity, the mind becomes a fertile field for distractions, fears, and limiting beliefs. You have to decide what you want. Not vaguely, not in a confused way, but objectively. Napoleon Hill talked about the importance of a defined main objective. A mind that doesn't know where it's going gets lost on any path. But a mind that has a target creates a road to it, even if that road doesn't exist yet. Think of Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times to create the electric light bulb. Each attempt was a thought sustained by a larger vision. He could have given up in the first few takedowns, but he didn't. His mind had already seen the light before his eyes saw it. This is the power of intentional thinking, sustaining an internal image until the external world has no choice but to align with it. Another step is to watch your daily thoughts. It sounds simple, but it is not. Our mind is constantly bombarded by negative news, other people's opinions, painful memories. If you don't learn to select what you let in and stay, you will live hostage to outside influences. It's like leaving your house open for anyone to enter. Thinking big requires discipline. It requires you to notice when a thought of failure pops up and replace it with a constructive idea. It requires you to notice when you start complaining and choose to be grateful. It requires you to notice when you are diminishing yourself and to remember that no one achieves the extraordinary if they do not first believe that they deserve it. It is true that the world can be hard, that challenges arise, that injustices exist. But the big question is not whether or not life will hit you, but how you will react when it does. People who bend reality are not those who never fall, but those who rise up with a new way of thinking. They understand that each difficulty brings a lesson, each delay hides an opportunity, each no makes room for a greater yes. The secret is to train the mind as if it were a muscle. No one lifts heavy weights on the first day of the gym, but with discipline and practice the body is strengthened. In the same way, no one controls the mind overnight, but with training you learn to direct it. Positive affirmations, visualizing goals, reading constructive ideas, socializing with people who think big, all of these feed your mind in the right way. Over time, you'll notice that the world around you starts to respond differently. People emerge, opportunities appear, previously invisible solutions are revealed. This process doesn't happen because reality has magically changed, but because you've changed. You start to see what you didn't see before. He starts to believe what he once doubted. He starts to act in what he only dreamed of before. And so, the world bends, not because he decided to change, but because his way of looking at him transformed everything. If there is one thing that differentiates ordinary people from those who seem to move mountains, it is the way they understand the connection between thought and reality. Often, we believe that the outside world is an uncontrollable force and that we can only react to what happens. But when we begin to observe carefully, we realize that what we cultivate in our minds shapes not only our attitudes, but also the way others treat us, how opportunities arise, and even how problems are solved. The world, in a way, responds to the pattern we emit. When you think with fear, speak hesitantly, and act with insecurity, you send a signal that closes doors. But when you think confidently, speak clearly, and act decisively, you send a signal that opens paths. This is the subtle science of the human mind that Napoleon Hill dedicated his life to teaching. How many times have you noticed that when you're in a positive frame of mind, things seem to flow better? You meet friendly people, creative solutions appear, small gestures turn into great helps. This is no coincidence. It's harmony. Your thought generates a vibration, and that vibration finds echoes in the world around you. On the other hand, when the mind is stuck in worries, criticism, and discouragement, even what could work finds a way to go astray. It's as if the universe just gives back what you deliver. This idea may sound almost mystical, but in practice, it is simple. Your mind conditions your gaze directs your choices, and your choices build your destiny. The secret is to understand that the world is not fixed, it is interpreted. Two people can be in the same place, live the same event, but see totally different things. While one sees only obstacles, the other sees disguised opportunities. While one only sees limitations, the other finds gaps to grow. It is not the world that has changed, it is thought. And this apparently small detail defines who advances and who stands still. Napoleon Hill used to say that thoughts are things. This phrase sounds simple, but it contains a profound truth. Everything that exists in the physical world has previously existed in the mental world. A bridge, an airplane, a company, a song, a work of art, it all started as an idea in someone's mind. What differentiates dreamers who only fantasize from those who realize is their persistence in sustaining the vision until it becomes concrete. Those who give up too soon never allow the world time to bow to their thinking. There is a scene that illustrates this principle well. Imagine a sculptor in front of a huge block of marble. To those looking from the outside, it looks just like a shapeless stone. But, for the artist, inside that block there is already a hidden sculpture. He sees it before sculpting. Blow after blow, patiently he removes the excess, until what was already in his mind appears before everyone's eyes. The world bows because someone held a vision that others did not see. This is the essence of creative thinking: see before, believe first, act before. And how to apply this in practical life, in everyday life? It starts with the way you face each situation. When a problem arises, the ordinary mind thinks only of the difficulty. The trained mind asks, "What does this want to teach me? Where is the hidden opportunity? How can I turn this into something useful?" This change of questions immediately alters the course of things. The problem is still there, but the energy with which you face it changes everything. A person who despairs in the face of a debt increases his weight. On the other hand, the one who looks at the same debt as an invitation to better organize her financial life finds a chance to grow. The reality is the same, but the result is not. Another essential point is the way you relate to others. People are mirrors of what we carry internally. When you believe in yourself, you convey confidence. When you respect your own journey, others come to respect you. When you treat others generously, the world finds ways to give back that energy. Hill said that no one achieves great things alone. There is always an invisible network of connections that form. And these connections are attracted by the way you think and act. The world bends not because you demand it, but because your mindset creates a field that inspires collaboration. People like to be around those who believe, who transmit clarity, who do not allow themselves to be dominated by complaints. When you think in a lofty way, you don't need to convince anyone with long speeches. Your presence already communicates. This is the difference between speaking with empty words and radiating a silent conviction. Of course, this does not mean living in illusion, pretending that everything is always fine. Powerful thought does not ignore reality, it re-signifies it. It is to look into the darkness and yet keep faith in the light. It is to be faced with a failure and say, "This does not define who I am, it just shows a path that did not work." It's falling and getting up, until the world understands that you won't give up. And when the world realizes this determination, it begins to give in. Opportunities that seemed closed open up. People who seemed distant approach. Features that seemed inaccessible appear. That's the big secret. It's not the world that bends first, it's you who bends inwards, adjusting your thoughts, your beliefs, your vision. Only then does the outside world respond. Like a reflection in a mirror, reality shows what you project. If you want to change your reflection, there is no point in hitting the mirror. It is necessary to change what is in front of him. And that means changing yourself. When you understand this principle, you begin to take a new attitude towards life. He is no longer a victim of circumstances and becomes the protagonist of his own story. He no longer waits for luck to knock on the door, but builds his luck daily through disciplined thinking and inspired action. Hill often repeated that positive thoughts, combined with a burning desire and a definite plan, are the formula for fulfillment. And this formula does not age, because it applies at any time, in any place, to anyone. Life always presents us with obstacles. And we often believe that these obstacles are signs that we should give up. But, in fact, each barrier can be interpreted as an invitation to grow. Those who think small see the problem as a warning of defeat. Those who think big see the problem as a step to climb. This difference in interpretation is what separates those who remain in the same place from those who reach levels that few imagine. Napoleon Hill said that all adversity brings with it the seed of an equivalent benefit. This phrase, if taken seriously, changes the way you face challenges. With each fall, there is something hidden that can become strength. With each loss, there is a learning experience that can turn into gain. But only those who have eyes trained to see beyond the obvious can find out. Think about the story of so many entrepreneurs who started from scratch. They had no capital, no contacts, and no great facilities. They did have a stubborn mind in believing that it was possible. When faced with closed doors, they did not give up. They beat others, created paths, reinvented ideas. Many heard no dozens of times before receiving a yes. But that single yes transformed everything because they were prepared, because they continued to hold the vision even when it seemed unsustainable. The world bows to those who insist, not blindly, but strategically, adapting, learning, and adjusting course without abandoning destiny. Life doesn't have to be perfect for you to achieve something great. It is precisely in the imperfect, in chaos, that great transformations take place. When you learn to turn obstacles into paths, nothing can stop your evolution. With each difficulty overcome, your confidence grows. And this confidence, added to firm thinking, creates an almost palpable energy. People begin to realize that you are not someone ordinary, but someone who carries a different flame. And this flame illuminates the environment, attracts respect, and inspires collaboration. Often, the difference between giving up and persevering lies in a simple change of question. Instead of asking yourself, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this happening to me for?" This small change makes room for a constructive response. Maybe it's so that you learn patience, so that you develop resilience, so that you can discover new ways of acting. Nothing is lost when you decide to turn every drop into momentum. Failure is no longer the end and becomes only part of the process. And here we come to a central point. The world bows not before words, but before a posture. It's no use just repeating motivational phrases if your heart doesn't believe it. What bends reality is the consistency between thought, emotion, and action. When you truly believe, your words carry truth, your emotions radiate confidence, and your actions become coherent. This creates an irresistible force. People notice when someone speaks from a place of conviction, and that conviction moves invisible mountains. Bending reality is not manipulating, it is not imposing your will on the world by force. It is aligning yourself in such a way with your purpose that everything around you begins to reorganize itself naturally. It's as if you tune into a higher frequency, where favorable coincidences become more common, where meaningful encounters happen, where ideas come at the right time. Anyone who has experienced this knows what I'm talking about. That moment when things seem to fall into place effortlessly. It is not chance, it is a consequence of the way you are vibrating. And how to keep that vibration high? The answer is simple, but it requires discipline. Take care of what you think on a daily basis. Feed your mind with constructive ideas, with books that elevate your vision, with conversations that inspire. Avoid excessive news that only spreads fear. Avoid living with people who drain your energy. Avoid feeding thoughts of comparison and envy. Each time you choose a thought, you are also choosing the direction of your life. This choice is constant, daily, almost invisible, but its effects are gigantic. Napoleon Hill's ultimate secret has always been in uniting thought and action. Thinking big without acting is just daydreaming. To act without thinking is to waste energy. But thinking clearly, believing firmly, and acting consistently is the formula that bends reality. When you take this step, you realize that the world really starts to tilt toward you. People show up to help, doors open, resources become available. And looking back, you understand that none of this would have happened if you hadn't changed your way of thinking. The most beautiful thing about this process is to realize that there is no limit. Whenever you achieve an achievement, you can set a bigger vision. Whenever you overcome a challenge, you can aim higher. Life is not about reaching an endpoint, but about continually expanding the ability to think and create. With each level you reach, you discover yourself stronger, more aware, more capable. The world bends once, and then again, until you realize that it wasn't the world that needed to change, but the way you stood before it. And so, the question that should echo in your mind remains, how are you thinking now? What have you been feeding inside yourself? Because, like it or not, that's what the world will give back. If within you there is belief, hope, discipline, and purpose, sooner or later the world will reflect that. But if inside you there is only doubt, fear, and discouragement, the world will also show this reflection. The choice is yours, and no one else can do it for you. So think of it this way. Choose to believe that your mind is capable of creating, that your ideas are seeds of something bigger, that your challenges hide opportunities. Hold this thought day after day. until it becomes so strong that there is no circumstance capable of erasing it. And when that moment comes, you will see with your own eyes that the world really bows to those who know how to think clearly, believe intensely, and act courageously.